The alarm siren screamed through the cold morning air of New Horizon Colony. Hyun dropped his tools and ran toward the main shelter, his heart pounding in his chest. Above him, the sky lit up with orange and red flashes as the defense platforms fired their last shots, before exploding into clouds of metal and fire. Everyone inside. "Now!" Borum shouted from the shelter entrance. She was young for a security officer, but her voice carried the weight of someone who knew what was coming. Her hands shook as she counted the people rushing past her. Too many people, not enough time. Hyun grabbed his two children by their hands and pulled them through the crowd. His daughter was crying. His son kept looking up at the sky where the massive Kryn warships hung like dark clouds blocking out the sun. The boy had never seen warships before. None of them had. New Horizon was a peaceful mining colony. They dug minerals from the ground and sent them back to the consortium. Nobody was supposed to attack them. "Daddy, what's happening?" his daughter asked between sobs. Hyun did not know what to tell her. He was just a maintenance engineer. He fixed broken machines and checked power systems. He was not trained for this. Nobody in the colony was trained for this. Inside the command center, Daeho stared at the screen showing the Kryn fleet. 18 ships. Heavy cruisers, destroyers, landing craft. The old administrator's scales had lost their color. He had lived 70 years and led this colony for 20 of them. He had always believed the consortium would protect them. They paid their taxes. They followed the rules. They sent regular reports. But the nearest consortium fleet was 3 weeks away. The message had been clear when it came back. "Hold position. Evacuate to shelters. Help is coming 3 weeks." The Kryn would not wait 3 weeks. "Sir, they are broadcasting," Ji-won said from her communication station. Her insect-like hands moved quickly over the controls, adjusting frequencies and recording everything. Daeho nodded. "Put it through." The voice that filled the room was deep and cruel. It spoke in perfect galactic common, each word chosen to create fear. "People of New Horizon Colony, this is Commander Thrak of the Kryn Dominion. Your defense systems are destroyed. Your communication with the consortium is cut off. You have no weapons. You have no protection." A pause. Then the voice continued. "You will surrender within 2 hours. You will come out of your shelters with your hands visible. You will not resist. If you do these things, you will become workers for the Dominion. You will live. If you resist, you will die. All of you. Your choice is simple." The transmission ended. The silence in the command center was heavy. Daeho looked around at his staff. They were all looking at him, waiting for him to say something wise. To give them hope. But what hope was there? "Keep broadcasting our distress signal," he finally said to Ji-won. "Use all frequencies. Old ones, new ones, everything." "Sir, nobody is close enough to help," Ji-won said quietly. "I know, but we keep trying anyway." Down in the main shelter, 3,000 people waited in the dim light. They sat on the cold floor, holding their children, holding each other. Some prayed to their gods. Others just stared at nothing. Hyun sat with his back against the wall, his children pressed against his sides. Borum walked through the shelter with her small security team. They carried mining equipment modified into weapons. Cutting lasers. Explosive charges meant for breaking rocks. It was not much. Against trained Kryn soldiers, it was nothing. But it was something to hold on to. Something to make them feel less helpless. "How long do we have?" Hyun asked when Borum walked past him. She checked her watch. 1 hour and 30 minutes. Hyun closed his eyes. His grandfather used to tell him stories when he was young. Stories about humans, the ghost species, the ones who vanished 200 years ago, leaving behind only legends and warnings. His grandfather said humans were warriors who never gave up, who fought battles they could not win and somehow won them anyway, who came to help when nobody else would. But they were just stories. Fairy tales to make children brave. Humans were gone, if they ever existed at all. Time passed slowly in the shelter. Every minute felt like an hour. People whispered to each other. Babies cried. Somewhere in the back, someone started singing an old song about home and safety. Others joined in. The sound filled the shelter with something that was not quite hope but was better than silence. In the command center, Daeho made his decision. He would speak to the colony before the end came. He would tell them that they stood together, that they faced this with dignity, that their lives meant something, even if they ended today. He walked to the microphone, preparing his words. Then Ji-won made a sound. A small gasp of surprise. Sir, she said, her voice shaking. Sir, I have something. On the old human emergency frequency. Deho turned. What? Jiwan's hands moved over her controls, verifying what she was seeing. It is an encrypted transmission. The codes are authentic. 200 years old, but authentic. Sir, someone is responding on the human channel. That is impossible, Deho whispered. Should I decode it? Yes, now. The computer worked for several seconds. Then a voice came through the speakers. Clear, confident, speaking perfect galactic common with an accent nobody had heard in 2 centuries. New Horizon Colony, this is UENS Indomitable. We received your distress call. Hold your position. Cavalry is here. Deho stared at the speaker. Jiwan stared at her console. Neither of them moved. Neither of them breathed. Did you say UNs? Deho finally asked. United Earth Naval Service? Affirmative. Stand by, New Horizon. We are entering your system now. On the long-range sensors, a new signature appeared at the edge of the system. Something massive. Something moving fast. Something that had just dropped out of hyperspace with a burst of energy that lit up every detector they had. Jiwan pulled up the visual feed. The image was distant but clear enough. A ship. Not like any consortium vessel. Angular, predatory, covered in weapons. It was painted dark gray with white markings on the side. Letters in the ancient human language, English. UNs Indomitable. They came, Deho said, his voice breaking. The humans came. In the shelter, Hyun heard the announcement over the speakers. Heard Deho's voice telling everyone what was happening. Heard the impossible words. A human ship. Here. Now. Around him, the shelter erupted. Not in panic this time. In something else. Something that had been missing for the last 2 hours. Hope. The Kryn fleet detected the new arrival immediately. On the bridge of the flagship Voidbreaker, Commander Thrak watched his tactical display with growing confusion. The energy signature was wrong. The ship design was unknown. His computer could not identify the vessel class. What is that? He demanded. His weapons officer studied the readouts. Unknown, Commander. The displacement suggests a heavy cruiser, but the power output reads like a battleship. It is broadcasting an identification code. Old format. Very old. What does it say? United Earth Naval Service. UN's Indomitable. The officer paused. Commander, that is a human designation. Thrak laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Humans, the ghosts finally return. How interesting. Open a channel. The communication was answered immediately. A male voice. Calm. Professional. Speaking galactic common with that strange accent that had not been heard in 200 years. Kryn Dominion vessels. This is Captain Minho of the UN's Indomitable. You are in violation of consortium territorial sovereignty and the Geneva Conventions regarding the protection of civilian populations. Power down your weapons and withdraw immediately. Thrak smiled, showing all his teeth. Captain Minho, I am Commander Thrak. Your species abandoned this galaxy 2 centuries ago. You have no authority here. This colony is now property of the Kryn Dominion. Leave or I will add your ship to our fleet. There was a brief pause. When the human spoke again, his voice had changed. It was colder now, harder. Wrong on both counts, Commander. We never abandoned anything. We were building. And the Geneva Conventions are not a request. They are the minimum standard of civilized behavior. You have attacked a civilian population. You have destroyed their defenses. You have threatened them with slavery or death. Another pause. Final warning, Commander Thrak. Withdraw now or be removed. In the New Horizon Command Center, Deho and his staff listened to the exchange with disbelief. One ship was challenging 18. One human captain was threatening an entire Kryn battle fleet. He is insane, someone whispered. He is human, Deho said quietly. Maybe insanity is how they survived. Commander Thrak made his decision. He had 18 ships. The human had one. The mathematics were simple. All ships target the human vessel. Fire on my mark. He waited until all ships confirmed weapons lock. Then he smiled. Fire. 18 ships unleashed their plasma lance batteries. The coordinated volley lit up space like a small sun. Enough firepower to vaporize a battle station. The beams converged on the Indomitable from multiple angles, giving it nowhere to dodge. In the shelter, Hyun held his children tight and closed his eyes. He had hoped. For just a few minutes he had believed. But one ship could not stand against 18. The humans had come. They had tried. But they would die like everyone else. Then Ji-won gasped. They are still there, she said, her voice rising. The human ship. It is still there. The tactical display showed something impossible. The Indomitable had activated a point defense grid. Hundreds of laser turrets tracking and firing in perfect coordination. Every plasma bolt that should have hit the ship was being intercepted hundreds of kilometers away. The defensive fire created a glowing web around the human vessel. Nothing got through. Impossible, Daeho whispered. On the void breaker, Thrak stared at his screens in shock. How? Nothing can stop a full plasma barrage. His weapons officer was silent, watching as the human ship began to move forward, not retreating, advancing directly toward the Kryn fleet. New weapon signatures. The officer shouted. The human is returning fire! The Indomitable's railguns opened up. They did not fire energy beams. They fired solid metal slugs accelerated to 3% of light speed. Kinetic weapons. Old technology, but executed with terrifying precision. The first Kryn destroyer never saw it coming. The railgun slug punched through its shields like they were not there, tore through the armor and exited the other side. The ship went dark and began to tumble. 3 more destroyers died in the next 30 seconds. The human weapon fire was impossibly accurate. Every shot hit exactly where it needed to disable or destroy. There was no wasted ammunition. No missed shots, evasive maneuvers. Thrak screamed. All ships scatter formation? But the Kryn ships were designed for attacking weaker opponents, not fighting an equal enemy. They were big and powerful but slow to turn. The Indomitable was smaller but moved like a hunting animal. It cut through the Kryn formation, its guns never stopping. Then the missiles launched. Smart weapons that curved around defensive fire and chased their targets. The Kryn countermeasures tried to stop them, but the missiles just adapted. They learned. They hunted. 2 more Kryn ships exploded. 3 more went dark, their engines destroyed. The remaining ships tried to run, but they were too slow. In New Horizon, everyone watched in stunned silence. The tactical display showed the battle in real time. 1 human ship was dismantling an entire fleet. It was not even a fair fight. The Kryn had started with 18 ships. 7 minutes later, 12 were destroyed or disabled. 3 were running. 3 more were broadcasting surrender. By the stars, Borum whispered. What are they? Warriors, Daeho said. Real warriors. Not like anything we have seen before. The Indomitable did not chase the fleeing ships. Instead, it moved toward New Horizon, its weapons powering down. The surrendering Kryn vessels were given coordinates and told to hold position. They obeyed without question. Captain Minho's voice came over the communication channel again. New Horizon Colony, this is Indomitable. The threat has been neutralized. We are sending down medical and engineering teams. We will help you repair your systems and treat your wounded. Daeho activated his microphone with shaking hands. Captain Minho, this is Administrator Daeho. I do not know what to say. You saved us. You saved all of us. You called for help, Administrator, we answered. That is what civilized people do. A pause. We have questions, though, about why you were left so vulnerable, why the consortium response would take 3 weeks. But those questions can wait. Right now, let us get your people safe and your systems working. Yes, of course. Captain, I must ask, where did you come from? Why did you answer our call after 200 years of silence? The human was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. We monitor the old emergency frequencies, Administrator. We always have. We made a promise when we first joined the consortium that humanity would stand against tyranny, that we would protect the innocent. Just because we left the consortium does not mean we abandoned that promise. In the shelter, Jan heard the conversation over the speakers. He looked down at his children. His daughter had stopped crying. His son was staring at the speaker with wide eyes. Daddy, his son said, are the humans like in grandfather's stories? Heen thought about what he had just seen. 1 ship defeating 18. 1 captain keeping a promise made 200 years ago. 1 species coming to help strangers they had never met. Yes, he said quietly. Exactly like in the stories. Around them, the shelter was erupting in celebration. People were crying, laughing, hugging each other. The impossible had happened. Help had come. Not from the consortium, from the ghosts, from the legends, from the humans who remembered their promises. Above New Horizon, the Indomitable took up a protective orbit. Its weapons stayed ready. Its sensors watched for any new threats. And inside, the crew prepared to do what humans had always done best, help those who could not help themselves. The human shuttle came down through the clouds like a silver bird. The entire colony had gathered in the main plaza to watch. Nobody wanted to miss this moment. The first humans to set foot on New Horizon in 200 years. Some people were scared. Some were excited. Most were just curious. Hyun stood with his children at the front of the crowd. His son kept asking questions. What do humans look like? Are they really warriors? Do they breathe the same air? Hyun did not have answers. Nobody did. The old record showed pictures, but pictures were not the same as seeing something real. The shuttle landed with barely a sound. Its engines were quieter than consortium shuttles, more efficient. The ramp lowered, releasing a small cloud of steam into the cold air. Then the humans emerged. They were smaller than Hyun expected. Shorter than most Viscari, not much taller than Chithai. They wore uniforms that were dark blue with white trim. Their skin came in different shades of brown and tan. They had hair on their heads in various colors. 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes. Not so different from many species in the consortium, but there was something else. Something in the way they moved. Every step was purposeful. Every glance took in their surroundings. Even while walking peacefully, they looked ready for anything. It made Hyun nervous and safe at the same time. The first human to reach the bottom of the ramp was a male in his late 40s. His hair was black with touches of gray. His face showed lines that spoke of worry and hard decisions. But his eyes were kind when he looked at the crowd. "Hello, New Horizon," he said in perfect galactic common. "I am Captain Minho. This is my crew. We are here to help." Daeho stepped forward, his old legs shaking slightly. "Captain Minho, welcome. We are in your debt." Minho shook his head. "No debt, just doing what is right." He gestured to the woman beside him. "This is Dr. Yoonji, our chief medical officer. She will help with any wounded. And this is Master Chief Taeyang, our lead engineer. He will work on your damaged systems." Dr. Yoonji was younger than the captain, maybe in her early 30s. She had short dark hair and quick movements. She immediately started scanning the crowd with a medical device. "Who is in charge of your medical facilities? I need a status report on casualties and supplies." Someone hurried forward to guide her. She was already moving, her team following with cases of equipment. Within minutes, she had set up a triage station and was treating people with frightening efficiency. Master Chief Taeyang was an older man with scarred hands and a face that rarely smiled. He looked at the damaged buildings and broken equipment with the eye of someone who had fixed 1,000 problems. "Where is your main power station?" he asked. Hyun raised his hand. "I can take you there. I am the maintenance engineer." Taeyang studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Good. Let us go." As they walked through the colony, Hyun tried not to stare at the human beside him. Taeyang carried a heavy toolbox that looked like it weighed nothing. His uniform had patches and symbols that Hyun did not recognize. Military insignia from a civilization that had been gone for 2 centuries. "How bad is it?" Taeyang asked. "The main reactor is stable, but 3 backup generators were destroyed. The water filtration system has damage. Communications array needs complete replacement. And the defense platforms are gone completely." Taeyang grunted. "We will fix what we can with what you have. The rest we will fabricate." "How long have these systems been running without proper maintenance?" Hyun felt embarrassed. "We do our best, but supplies from the consortium are slow to arrive. Sometimes we wait months for spare parts. Months." Taeyang stopped walking and looked at him. "You are a frontier colony. You should have full fabrication facilities and emergency supplies. Who designed this setup?" "Consortium Colonial Planning Office." Taeyang shook his head. "They set you up to fail, or at least to be dependent. That is not how you build a colony that survives." He started walking again. "Humans learned that lesson the hard way. We build everything to keep working when things go wrong, because things always go wrong." At the power station, Hyun watched in amazement as Taeyang and his team worked. They did not just fix the broken generators. They improved them. They added safety systems. They increased efficiency. And they did it all with tools that looked both more advanced and more practical than anything the consortium made. "Why do you do it this way?" Hyun asked, watching Taeyang rewire a control panel. "Because fixing something properly takes the same time as fixing it temporarily. But fixing it properly means it will not break again next week." Taeyang looked up from his work. "Consortium builders seem to think colonies should be comfortable. We think colonies should be tough. There is a difference." Meanwhile, Borum was working with the human security team. She expected them to lecture her about proper defensive positions or military tactics. Instead, they asked her questions about the colony layout, about what worked and what did not, about how her team thought and fought. A young human soldier named Corporal Jiho showed her a weapon. It was simpler than consortium plasma rifles, but he explained how it worked in any condition. Cold heat, dust, water, it always fired. Why is reliability so important to humans? Borum asked. Jiho smiled. Because the enemy gets a vote. Your plans will fail. Your equipment will break. The weather will be wrong. The intel will be bad, so we prepare for everything to go wrong. Then when it does, we are ready. Is that why you won so easily against the Kryn? We did not win easily. We won because we trained harder. Because our equipment is better. Because we never assume we are safe. He looked serious. The Kryn thought they could beat us because they had more ships. They forgot that numbers matter less than skill. That is a lesson humans learned a long time ago. That evening, the humans hosted a gathering. They shared food from Earth, strange dishes that some colonists loved and others found too spicy. They shared stories and music. Human children's songs taught to alien children. Engineering tricks shared between mechanics. Medical techniques demonstrated by doctors. Captain Minho spent time talking to Daiho, Jiwon, and other colony leaders. His questions were pointed. Why did the colony have such weak defenses? Why did the consortium take 3 weeks to respond? Why were there so few resources for emergencies? This is not the first time, Daiho admitted quietly. We hear reports from other colonies. Attacks, raids, slow responses. But we are just colonists. We have no power to change things. Minho's jaw tightened. You should not need power. You should have protection. That is what governments are for. The consortium is very large, very complicated. That is not an excuse. It is a failure. Minho looked at the colonists celebrating around them. These people almost died today. Thousands of them. Because someone decided defense systems were too expensive. Because someone decided frontier colonies were not a priority. What can be done? Minho was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that would change everything. We need to send a message. To the consortium, to the Kryn, to everyone. That this does not happen anymore. That frontier colonists are not targets. That when you call for help, someone answers. You mean humanity answers? Yes. We answer. As the gathering wound down and humans prepared to return to their ship, Hyun approached Captain Minho. Sir, my grandfather used to tell stories about humans. About how you never gave up. How you helped those who could not help themselves. I thought they were just stories. Minho smiled. They are not stories. They are promises. And humans keep their promises. Even after 200 years? Especially after 200 years. Because some things do not change. Some things should never change. He looked up at the night sky where the Indomitable orbited. We will make sure you are safe. And not just you. Every colony. Every civilian. That is the new rule, Hyun believed him. Part 4. 3 days after the battle, a consortium diplomatic ship arrived. It was called the Accord's Promise, a name that seemed ironic given what had happened. The ship was large and expensive looking, the kind that carried important people who rarely left comfortable offices. Ambassador Velron stepped off the ship wearing elaborate robes that marked him as a high official. He was a Veskari like Daiho, but younger and much more arrogant. His scales were polished. His movements were practiced. Everything about him spoke of someone who had never faced real danger. He immediately began giving orders. The colony was to return to normal operations. The damaged areas were to be documented for insurance purposes. And the humans were to leave as soon as possible. Captain Minho met the ambassador in the colony's rebuilt council chambers. Daiho and other colony leaders were there. So was Jiwon, recording everything. The meeting started badly and got worse. Captain Minho, Velron said, his voice full of false warmth. On behalf of the Consortium Council, I thank you for your assistance in this matter. Your intervention was unexpected but appreciated. However, now that the situation is resolved, your presence is no longer needed. This is Consortium space and we must handle our own affairs. Minho sat quietly for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm. Ambassador, this was not a Consortium matter. This was 3,000 civilians under attack by a hostile military force. That makes it a matter of basic rights and protections. Semantics, Captain. The point is that human ships have no authority here. You left the consortium 200 years ago. You cannot simply return when it suits you and claim jurisdiction. We are not claiming jurisdiction. We are responding to distress calls. Velran waved a hand dismissively. There are proper channels for such things. Diplomatic protocols. You should have contacted the Consortium Council first, explained your intentions, requested permission to operate in our space. By the time those channels were followed, everyone here would be dead or enslaved. The ambassador's smile slipped slightly. You exaggerate. The Consortium response fleet was on its way. They would have handled the situation in 3 weeks, and these things take time. Proper procedure must be followed. Minho leaned forward. Ambassador, I have reviewed the intelligence reports. New Horizon is not the first colony to be attacked. Over the past 3 years, 17 frontier colonies have been hit by Kryn raiders. Consortium response time has averaged 19 days. That is not procedure. That is failure. Velran's expression turned cold. You have no right to review Consortium intelligence. That information is classified. The information is public record. Colony distress calls. Response times. Casualty figures. All available if anyone bothers to look. Minho stood up. But nobody looks, do they? Because frontier colonies are not important enough. They are just mining operations. Resource extraction points. The people living there are expendable. That is a gross mischaracterization. Before Minho could respond, the air in the room shimmered. A holographic projection appeared. It showed a woman in a human military uniform. She was older than Minho, with white hair and eyes that looked like they could cut steel. Her uniform had more symbols and decorations than any other human they had seen. Admiral Sora, Minho said, standing at attention, Captain Minho, Ambassador Velran. The Admiral's voice was cold enough to freeze water. I have been reviewing Captain Minho's reports, and I have some questions. Velran stood, trying to maintain his composure. Admiral! This is an unexpected honor. However, this matter is being handled through proper diplomatic channels. There is no need for military involvement. Ambassador, 17 colonies have been attacked. Response times average 19 days. Would you care to explain why? The consortium territory is vast. We cannot have response fleets everywhere. We must prioritize based on strategic importance, population size, economic value. So frontier colonies are not strategic, not important, not valuable. That is not what I said. It is exactly what you said. Admiral Sora's hologram moved closer. I have also reviewed the political data. Every attacked colony was predominantly non-Viscari. Every attacked colony was in districts that voted against the current council majority. Every attacked colony had valuable mineral rights that were scheduled for renegotiation. The room went very quiet. Tejo felt his blood go cold. The implication was clear. You are suggesting the council is deliberately allowing these attacks, Velran said, his voice shaking with anger or fear. I am suggesting the pattern is suspicious. I am suggesting that 19 days is not an accident. I am suggesting that elements within your government have been negligent at best and complicit at worst. These are serious accusations. They are serious crimes. Admiral Sora looked at everyone in the room. Humanity left the consortium because we saw this corruption growing. We warned you. We told you that putting politics before people would lead to disaster. You ignored us. So you return now to judge us? No, we return to do what you will not. Protect civilians. Answer distress calls. Stop predators, she paused. Here is what happens now, Ambassador. The United Earth Naval Service will establish rapid response fleets throughout frontier space. We will station ships at strategic locations, and we will respond to any attack on civilian populations. Any attack anywhere. Velran turned pale. That is a violation of consortium sovereignty. The Council will never allow it. Ambassador, sovereignty is earned by protecting your citizens. The consortium has failed. We are filling the gap you created. Admiral Sora's expression softened slightly. If the Council wants us to leave, they can prove they will do better. They can show faster response times, better defenses, real protection. Until then, we stay. She turned to address the colony directly. To the people of New Horizon and every frontier colony. Humanity has not forgotten you. We will not abandon you. Any colony that wants human protection need only ask. We will answer, always. The hologram faded. Ambassador Velran stood in stunned silence. He had come to dismiss the humans, to send them away. Instead, he had just witnessed humanity declare themselves the new guardians of the frontier. After the ambassador left, angry and defeated, Deho approached Captain Minho. "You have just made powerful enemies." Minho nodded. "Yes, but we have also made a promise. And humans keep their promises. The Council will try to stop you. Let them try. We are not asking for permission. We are not seeking approval. We are simply doing what is right." He looked out the window at his ship in orbit. Sometimes the right thing makes you unpopular. That does not make it wrong. That night, messages began spreading through the frontier, colony to colony, station to station. The humans were back. They were protecting civilians. They were answering distress calls. The word spread like fire. And in New Horizon, people slept soundly for the first time in 3 days, because they knew that if danger came again, help would answer, not in 3 weeks, not when it was convenient, but immediately, with overwhelming force, with humans who kept their promises. The Kryn came back 1 week later, not to New Horizon. They were not that stupid. They came to the edge of the system with 40 ships and a massive dreadnought called the Voidbreaker. They were waiting for the Indomitable to leave, waiting to teach the humans a lesson about interfering in Dominion business. Jiwan detected them first. She ran to tell Captain Minho, expecting alarm. Instead, the captain just smiled tiredly and activated his communication device. "Relentless, defiant Tempest Roosevelt. You are clear to jump." Coordinates locked. Jiwan stared at him. "What?" "The Indomitable is not alone, Jiwan. She never was." Space behind the Kryn fleet tore open. Not once, 4 times. 4 human warships appeared out of hyperspace. 2 heavy cruisers named Relentless and Defiant. A destroyer called Tempest. And something new. Something huge. A carrier named Roosevelt that immediately began launching fighter craft. The Kryn fleet found itself trapped between 5 human warships. On the Voidbreaker's bridge, Admiral Thrak realized he had made a terrible mistake. "All ships, battle formation. Prepare to engage." His voice was shaking. 40 ships against 5 should still be in his favor. But the numbers suddenly did not feel like enough. The human fleet did not wait for the Kryn to organize. The Roosevelt's fighter wing hit first, 60 small craft moving in perfect coordination. They were not piloted normally. The human pilots were connected to their ships through neural interfaces. They moved like they were part of the machines. Like extensions of a single mind, the fighters tore through the Kryn formation. They targeted engines and weapon systems with surgical precision. Within 2 minutes, 8 Kryn ships were crippled. The formation that Admiral Thrak had spent days planning fell apart. Then the human cruisers opened fire. Their weapons were different from what they had used before. These were directed energy weapons, lasers that cut through shields like they were made of paper. The Kryn had never seen technology like this. Their shields were designed to stop plasma and kinetic weapons. They did nothing against pure focused energy. In New Horizon, everyone watched the battle on their screens. They had been terrified when they saw the Kryn fleet. 40 ships, the same force that had attacked them. But now they watched something impossible. 5 human ships were destroying 40 Kryn vessels. It was not even close. The humans moved like predators. Every shot counted. Every maneuver was perfect. The Kryn fired back desperately, but the human point defense systems intercepted everything. Nothing got through. "How are they doing this?" Borum whispered. "Training," Deho said quietly. "Equipment, experience. They prepared for this. While we hoped for peace, they prepared for war. And when war came, they were ready." The Voidbreaker made a desperate charge at the Indomitable. The massive dreadnought was twice the size of the human cruiser. Its armor was legendary. Its weapons were designed to destroy battle stations. For 30 seconds, the 2 ships traded fire at close range. The Voidbreaker's plasma cannons hammered at the Indomitable's shields. The human ship shook under the impacts. Damage reports flashed on Captain Minho's screens. But the Indomitable had weapons that the Kryn did not expect. The main guns, electromagnetic accelerators. They fired solid metal slugs at incredible speeds. When they hit, they did not burn through armor. They punched holes. Clean holes that went through the entire ship. The first shot took out the Voidbreaker's main reactor. The second destroyed its command bridge. The third shattered its engines. In 3 shots, the legendary dreadnought became a dead hulk drifting in space. Admiral Thrak, his ship powerless and dying, broadcast his surrender. The battle had lasted 18 minutes. 8 Kryn ships were destroyed completely. 27 were disabled. 5 had managed to jump away. The human fleet had not lost a single vessel. Minho did not celebrate. He ordered rescue operations for the Kryn survivors. Medical teams were dispatched. Damaged ships were stabilized. Prisoners were treated with respect according to the Geneva Conventions. The humans had won, but they did not gloat. They did not torture. They simply followed their rules. Then Admiral Sora's hologram appeared on every public channel in the sector. Not just military frequencies. Every communication device, every screen. Her message was broadcast to Consortium Space, Kryn Space, and the independent systems. This is Admiral Sora of the United Earth Naval Service. Today, humanity answered a distress call. We will answer every distress call. To those who prey on the weak, you are now warned. To those who believe the frontier is beyond protection, you are now informed. To those who thought humanity had vanished, we were never gone. We were preparing, she continued, her voice hard as steel. Effective immediately, the UNs will maintain rapid response fleets throughout the frontier. Any colony, regardless of species or political affiliation, that requests protection will receive it. Any force that attacks civilian populations will face consequences. This is not a negotiation. This is not a request. This is a promise. The message ended. Across the galaxy, people absorbed what they had just heard. Humanity was back. And they were not asking for permission. 2 weeks later, New Horizon had changed completely. The defense grid had been upgraded to military specifications. The power systems were more efficient. The medical facilities had human equipment. A permanent UENS liaison office had been established. But most importantly, the people were no longer afraid. Hyun watched his children play in the plaza. They were playing a game that human soldiers had taught them. Something about capturing flags. His daughter was laughing. His son was making friends with children from different species. They were happy, safe. They will remember this, Borum said, standing beside him. She was wearing a new uniform. Human style. She had accepted the training position with the UNs. They will tell their children about the day the humans came. Will you leave? Hyun asked. Only for training? 6 months. Then I come back to help protect my home. She smiled. The humans taught me something. Hope is not enough. You must prepare. You must be ready. That way, when danger comes, you can face it. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Minho reviewed reports of 3 new distress calls from the frontier. His crew was ready. The weapons were charged. The engines hummed with power. They would jump to the first location in 2 hours. Captain, his communication officer said, we are receiving messages from 47 colonies. They are all requesting human protection. Minho nodded. Forward the request to Fleet Command. Tell them we need more ships out here, more crews, more resources. He looked at the star map showing the frontier. So many colonies, so many people who needed help. We have work to do. In New Horizon's main plaza, a monument was being built. Simple, elegant. A metal plaque with words in both Galactic Common and English. Hyun read the inscription as workers finished installing it. They thought help would never come. They were wrong. Humanity remembers. Humanity protects. Humanity endures. Deho stood beside him reading the same words. It is true, you know. They do endure. 200 years away and they came back stronger, more prepared, better equipped. While we grew comfortable, they grew capable. What happens now? Hyun asked. Now? The galaxy changes. The consortium will have to reform or become irrelevant. The Kryn will think twice before attacking civilians, and frontier colonies will finally have real protection. The old administrator smiled. It is not perfect. There will be problems, politics, conflicts, but it is better, much better. That evening, as the sun set over New Horizon, Hyun told his children a story. Not about ghosts or legends, but about real humans, about Captain Minho and his crew, about the Indomitable and how it roared out of the void when all hope seemed lost, about promises kept and people protected. His children listened with wide eyes. When he finished, his son asked the question that every child in the colony was asking. Daddy, if we are in trouble again, will the humans come back? Hyun looked up at the night sky. Up there, somewhere in orbit, the Indomitable was preparing for its next mission. Keeping watch. Standing guard. Ready to answer the next call? Yes, he said with absolute certainty. They will come. They always will. Because that is what humans do. They remember. They protect. They keep their promises. And across the frontier, in colonies that had given up hope, Communication officers kept their old human emergency channels open. They maintained the ancient frequencies. They listened to the static, waiting, hoping, because now they knew the truth. When you call for help in the darkness of space, when all seems lost, when no one else will come, a human warship might just roar out of the void to answer. Not because they had to. Not because it was profitable. Not because it was easy, but because it was right. And humans always did what was right no matter the cost.